Is it next? I should be clicking on, right? Okay. Sorry. So, good morning, everybody. Today topic will be on YII framework overview. So, basically, I'll just be looking at a framework social lender. Basically, was just doing more like an overview of what the calendar platforms of this framework will actually have a little bit of an understanding of what the framework actually does. So this is what actually my framework, my topic will be about today. So basically, I'll just be doing a bit of introduction. So I'll be introducing you guys to what YII is about. Also, I'll be talking about what YII is about. I'll be looking at how to set up YII environment. So I'll just be doing a bit of surface scratching. So you guys can actually try this independently, or if you so wish. So I'll be highlighting the features of YII. Um, I'll try to compare YII, which is driven by a language which you guys will actually know about in the subsequent slide. So I'll be doing a comparison between YII and other definitions. With this, you have a better understanding why we chose that. So I'll be highlighting also the benchmark tools and environments for YII. So starting off, okay, I will now be highlighting now be asking why the advantages basically of YII. So introduction, what is YII? So basically, YII basically is just a high performance framework, and it is basically driven by a language PHP. And PHP is actually a high level scripting language. And this framework actually is best for developing web frame applications from web 2.0 upwards. So basically, YII is just a framework that is powered by PHP, and you'll see why. So it comes with rich features, because I said I'll be highlighting some features of it. So it comes with rich features, and that features can actually help developers like us reduce the time we spend, the development time we spend actually employing or actually writing our codes without using any form of frameworks, or doing our writing our codes in a conventional way. So he actually help us save time in this regard. So what is YII? So YII basically um, it's actually YII. Let me just give you an overview. YII is actually I'll be looking at YII for the case of this presentation, but YII is actually an advancement of the original version, which is YII. So basically, YII is actually the current version of YII, and its version is put at 2.0.9, and it was actually released on July 11th to 28, 2016. And like I said, the former version was actually YII. So setting up YII environment, you can actually set up this environment primarily by two ways, and you can actually do that using the first method, which is actually setting up via the composer, and also downloading the archive file. So we'll be looking at how to actually install or set up using these two methods. Sorry. Okay. So before I go into details about how to actually use or install YII or set up YII using this tool, I would like to say that the format which is actually the composer is actually preferred because it will allow us to actually add on extensions, or we can actually do direct update. So if there's a case where we have YII 3 maybe in 2020 and you want to actually update, you can actually do that easily via using the composer method. I just give a hint here so that we can actually prefer installing, or I can actually advise us to actually install using the composer. So I'll be looking at each of these methods. So via the composer, if you actually don't, if you act, using your CMD, you actually can check if you have an already download or already installed composer on your system, and you can do that by actually typing composer on your CMD. And if you find out that you don't have one, you can actually try downloading one, and you should try downloading composer globally, and you can actually get that using by visiting the getcomposer.org website, and you can actually run that. So by doing so, you can just actually run just this simple command on your command line when you already have your composer installed. And by running these lines of code, this shows that we'll be downloading a basic template of YII. Basically, there are two templates of YII: the basic template and the advanced template. So for beginners, at beginners level, it's advisable you start off with downloading or working with the basic template before you advance to um, advanced version. So you can, when you have a composer already installed on your system, you can just run this command on the CMD, and it will download that basic file on the base path directory of your device. So that's basically what it is. So download a file called basic, and it's just like a folder. And we're looking what that structure, the structure of what that file contains. So we're looking at in details in subsequent slides. So this is basically how to actually download or install, set up your YouTube using the composer. So you can just run simple command, project, blah blah blah, and it will do the needful for you. So you can just go to YII framework. Yeah, YII framework.com. Just download an archive, just like a folder. They've already done that for you. So what you'll be doing in this method of installing or setting up YII will just be actually downloading the file, the folder, and you can download that from YIIframework.com. So basically, this file is going to be in a zipped file. So you need to unpack that file from. You need to unpack the basic folder from the zip file. Then you can. I forgot to mention in the composer method, before you can actually run your get it up and running, you need to actually set up a cookie validation key in the config folder. So, but in the composer doesn't really allow you to do that because it already creates once you download it from the composer. Once you download this in the composer, it generates this cookie validation. So in the case of the composer, you don't have to manually start inputting a cookie validation key to get your YII up and running. So that's a bit the similarities in using the archive file. So after downloading, you need to unpack. After unpacking, you need to now go to the config folder and search for the web.php file and go to where there's an input for cookie validation and put a string. It can be any string, it can be your name, it can be a dot, it can be anything. Once there's just a value in that so after successful installation, this is what you should be seeing on your screen. So either ways you install or you set up YII, you should be landing on this page after a successful installation. And I think it's telling you congratulations for actually going through the rigorous process. So I will just be looking into the sorry, I'll be looking into the two folder structure. And so once you download the basic, so the basic is the base part. So I will not be really going through this. They're already their definition are already there. So I'll just really run through some of them. So definitely once you download, there's a composer.js file that will allow you have access. You have allow the composer, so um, you can actually download the dependencies that are necessary for your project. So there's a composer.js file for you on that fact. There also I talked about the config where you can actually change the cookie validation. So you can find out in the web.php. I mentioned that. Then we'll be looking at MVC structure. So we'll be looking at controllers, models. I think I did a KD on this sometimes. So I will just be doing another recap on the MVC structure. So basically, he actually employs or uses the MVC kind of pattern to actually operate. So this is basically what you'll be seeing inside the basic folder when you try accessing it. So basically, I want to just explain when the PMO guys comes to tell you that hey I cannot access or the PMO basically they'll tell you that we cannot access a particular page blah 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 and all that. So I'll just be running through the processes involved in actually how he works and how he operates. So basically there's a user there, it can be any one of us that uses it. So there's an entry script. So once we before we get that message congratulation, definitely that app must have passed through an entry script. The entry script is just a script that contains some certain lines of code that it is going to run. So basically, once the user actually runs an app, or once it launches the app, it's going to go to your entry script, and the entry script is going to load the app config, check if all the keys, validation keys are set, check if your DB connections are made, check all what it's supposed to make to check. And once it validates that, it will just run the application. That's where you get to see the congratulation. And from where we are already in the application, in the congratulation application. So the user, basically somebody from comes and makes a request and says, I am trying to access the profile or the profile support page. So that is actually a request, and those requests via routing system. So that's actually the user actually making a request here. So there's a request component that happens this. So it makes the request via the URL. So you're typing in blah 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 your URL, and it's going to here. It's going to resolve the route of that URL and create a controller, because once you click on enter, that URL is supposed to trigger an action on the controller that will tell whatever the app is supposed to do, right? So the controller actually creates an action and performs the necessary filters, and this is just so looking at. I'll be using this slide to actually explain also the model field controller. So in a situation where the user actually will start from there, because this is what he sees in the view, right? This guy is going to originally this is just like installing the app. So this guy is going to run the system and going to run the engine. So when the user tries using the app, it's going to start from there, because that's the view is accessing on your screen, right? It's going to access the room, and when you make that request via the URL, it's going to run through this process. And when it comes to the model, so I'm going to just use a simple example. In the sign up page, in the login page, right? A user actually comes to an app and wants to use the app, and they tell him if you don't have an account, you need to sign up. So he goes to the sign up link button and clicks on the sign up. And this is where he sees that sign up. So I'm using this example just to bring in this guy. because I would have been skipping this slide because I'm done with action and view. But I'm just bringing this example to actually just so he tries signing up. Yeah, it's going some of his email, his password, and those this say somewhere, and somewhere is the database, right? And the MVC kind of framework or the MVC structure, the component that communicates directly with the database basically is actually the model. So the model, once you have an app that has to do with saving data and calling data, like that is signing up and calling data from our database, we know that this is the middleman that this is the guy that actually does that communication. So I just brought that to actually bring our mind back to the end. So basically this is what we see. So when you come and tell me that hey, I'm not accessing this thing, it goes to the route, it goes to create the action, and it's supposed to render the view for you to see. And when you see a 404, when you don't have the access to that view, that's when you now start raising those conflicts. So basically, that's what this is just like a life cycle about of how you work. So what is it? What are the features of Lee? Like I rightly pointed out the previous slide, we have the MVC design pattern. So you have our model view. So it's separated in the way that we can actually have easy access and we can actually have a better structure to our files. So in YII, there's DAO, which is the database and we have objects. I give you all know what are objects. So when we have to communicate with our database and all that, so we actually have features such as the query builder. Query builders are just basically um, our raw SQL statements, but they are in YII, they are grouped under query builder because they are neatly. So you say select from, you are not writing all of them in one line. If you are familiar with our database queries, you are not writing them all in one line. You are breaking them using the arrow notation. So that's what query builder does for you. An active record is actually a class, an advanced class of models. So these are the features of form input validation. There are sets of rules that needs to be validated when a user actually signs up or when a user. So once they say an email needs to be an email, it needs to follow an email pattern. There should be an at in your email field, and you don't put an at and you try to submit, it will throw an error. So those rules are set in the models, and YII allows us to actually validate those rules to actually yes to actually conform to what our objectives of the project. So it enables agile subjects, authentication and authorization, web services, error handling and logging. Basically, this is a component in YII. How it works is that it's somehow under the hood. It's built in almost every file or every page or somehow. So that's why it tells you that. That's why your application is supposed to be smart enough to tell you that hey, you have an error on this file, line. So error handlers are components that are actually built on every individual files that figures of when there is an abnormality in running the code. So error handlers will actually figure off or set off the error message. So there's unit and functionality testing, there's detailed documentation. So the little I think I know was actually as a result of detailed documentation. So he actually comes to the feature of having detailed documentations that actually help developers to guide them through using code.